We are ready when you are, Daniel.
Great. Thanks so much, Heather. Hi, welcome everyone. I would now like to call the September 17th, 2025 Longmont Sustainability Advisory Board meeting to order. Could we please start with the roll call?
Yes, Corkit Oneron,
Here.
Ethan Augreen,
Here.
Alex Solomeo, Jeff Gawrick is not with us. Neither is Robert Davidson, Alyssa Harding,
Here.
and Daniel Leonard,
Here.
Lisa Knobloch. She's here, but I don't know if her audio is working. Susan Bartlett
Here.
and Heather McIntyre, Francie Jaffe,
Here.
and Councilmember Popkin is here as well. And Chair, you have a quorum.
Great. So I will begin with our land acknowledgement statement. We acknowledge that Longmont sits on the traditional territory of the Cheyenne, Arapaho, Ute, and other indigenous peoples. We honor the history and the living and spiritual connection that the First Peoples have with this land. It is our commitment to face the injustices that happened when the land was taken and to educate our communities, ourselves, and our children to ensure that these injustices do not happen again. Also read our inclusion statement. The Sustainability Advisory Board embraces diverse perspectives from its members and the public. To create an inclusive space where everyone feels welcome to share their opinion, the board asks that all attendees listen and speak with respect and avoid attacks on the individuals or specific group identities. So moving on to the approval of our minutes from the last meeting, I'll ask, does anyone have any changes or corrections that need to be amended in the minutes? Can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
I move.
Great. Can I get a second?
Seconded.
Thank you, Alyssa. All in favor?
All right.
Great, so moved. Checking in with staff, do we have anything we need to add to the agenda? Any revisions or submissions?
Sorry, I was having some audio issues for a minute. I am here. I can hear you all now. I just have two things to add to the updates from staff section. They're not big things, but I hadn't put them on the agenda. It's just to share an update with you on the regenerative agriculture conversation and just some information for you all about our design standards that are open for public comment right now.
Great, thank you, Lisa. Sorry, just making a quick note so I don't forget this later. Okay. So let's move on to general business. And I will hand it over to Francie for our mid-year progress report.
Hello, everyone. My name is Francie Jaffe. I'm an internal sustainability coordinator. If I have not yet met you, I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to go through a short presentation to highlight some mid-year updates. As I mentioned in your board packet, starting this year, we no longer have a mid-year report. And because of the success of Longmont indicators, we're just doing an annual report. And we're still going to share some highlights as well as the addition of some new plans. Go ahead and share my screen. So that's basically what I just went through. I'm also going to do a demo at the end of my presentation and just do a walkthrough of the Longmont Indicators website. So we have a lot of extreme heat resilience updates. There's been a lot of progress this year from work groups from across the city in working towards extreme heat resilience. One project is the Resilient Together project. This is being led by our Parks Development staff, and they are working on 3 different neighborhood parks to add cooling solutions. So the first phase of construction of 2 of those parks, Lanyon and Kensington, are underway. You can see kind of one of the proposed designs of adding misters. I unfortunately forget if this is Lanyon or Kensington, but that work is underway for that construction. There's also a Boulder County in our forestry program are working on a growing shade Longmont to actually support residents in adding trees on their own properties. This is more in the Lou Miller and West Point neighborhoods. And on September 27th, I think that's the Saturday, a week from this upcoming Saturday, they'll have those trees delivered and they'll start the planting process. And as part of that, they actually, the group leading this effort from the county will actually come back in a couple months later to help make sure people are knowing how to take care of their trees and provide that additional support. From some other extreme heat efforts, it's the second year of the Whole Home Health Program. This is a effort led by Adam Sanderson and Longmont Power and Communications. So far to date, they've had 24 single-family homes participate, and there's a large multi-family project of 48 homes that's underway. The Sustainability Office was funding from AT&T in partnership with the Longmont Community Foundations and Cultivate did a free air conditioning program. So these are AC units that go in your window, or we did a couple just ones that sit on the ground in your home. And we actually distributed close to 50 ACs. So this was a really successful program, and staff are looking into if it's possible to continue in the future. And then lastly, if you attended any of like the big city events this summer, you hopefully saw this a large orange cooling tent. Staff had misters as well as engaged community members who attended on understanding kind of what types of cooling solutions they want in their neighborhood. On some of those really hot, I was at one where I think for the Juneteenth celebration, it was in the high 90s, and we repeatedly saw folks coming back. We were giving out little cooling towels. They'd come back and redamp their cooling towel. They'd come take a break in the shade and use the mister. So it was very effective for helping people cool off at those summer events. We also, most of our data for Longmont indicators is updated yearly. Our commercial waste data actually comes in a little bit. Some of our other waste data is available around March, April, while a lot of our commercial waste data is not available until June or July. And we saw this updated in our mid-year update of a large increase in our commercial waste diversion from the landfill, 18% increase from 2023 to 2024. We believe this is primarily because of the implementation of the Universal Recycling Ordinance. In 2024, there were requirements for multifamily and commercial businesses to provide recycling. This year, there are requirements going into place for specific businesses to provide composting. So we're hoping to see a continuous additional jump next year as well. Some other highlights that I just pulled from the website we have for some future stewardship plans on city properties. Our senior plant ecologist has begun gathering data to begin the implementation and development of those plans. Staff at Transportation Planning have installed 12 two-person bus seating. These were really targeted in areas where there wasn't a lot of space to install a much larger bus stops to really try to fill in where and create a place for folks to sit down. And I believe Lisa will talk about this more later in the staff updates. But on August 26th, Council accepted staff's proposal to pursue adoption of the Northwest Metropolitan Regional Energy Code cohort recommended amendments. But I'll let her talk to that more later. So there's several more highlights, and I'll do a demo of the plan and show kind of different ways how you can find some of those highlights on Longmont indicators. But these were just a few that I just pulled from across both the Sustainability and Climate Action Recommendations report. So I also want to highlight some changes to Longmont indicators, the site overall. This was a previous recommendation from a board member to add, because there's so much information on the site, to add a navigation video. So that's now available. If you're entering from the English side, comes up in English. From the Spanish side, it'll be in Spanish, just to help someone new to the site learn how to navigate it. And then we have the addition of 2 new plans. So the first plan that was added this mid-year was the Park Recreation Trails Master Plan. So this is a plan that was actually adopted in 2014. And you can really track the work completed at parks and trails, and they actually project out what updates need to be done to the different assets in the parks up until 2050. So when I do my demo, I'll select a part and show what that looks like. The other plan that was added recently was the Water Efficiency Plan. This is a plan that actually just got adopted and approved this year in 2025. As requirements from the state's Water Conservation Board, we have to update this every 7 years. So it was approved by the state earlier this year, and this will track progress towards achieving additional water savings. This plan, when they developed the plan, they found that since 1996, Longmont has cut water use by about 46.5%. So they set a new target specifically for this plan. So for the 7 years of the plan, they want to continue to reduce water usage by an additional 3%. So I'm going to stop my share and then reshare so I can do the demo, and then I can open up for questions after that. Okay, so now you should see the Longmont Indicators website page. You can find this by just Googling Longmont Indicators or on our city website on the landing page. If you select, I want to learn more about plans, it directs you here. And we also have direct links throughout the city website that connects you to Longmont Indicators. As I mentioned, the site is both available in English and Spanish, so you can switch your language here. On the landing page, you can see all 7 of our citywide plans, but you can also, you can also navigate into individual plans. So I will navigate into some of our sustainability plan, as well as the new plans that were added. But I wanted to highlight that we have, for all plans, we have this nice way of searching by theme across every single plan. So transportation is a good example. Several of our plans on the site talk about transportation. So if that's a specific interest to you, you can search by transportation and then scroll down and see actions from the sustainability plan, Envision Longmont, which is our multimodal and comprehensive plan, and our transportation roadmap. So this allows you different ways to high level view a specific topic that you might be interested in. So we have these separated by these different filters. On these tabs, you can also look at all indicators from across. Again, you can filter. So if I wanted to find that commercial waste indicator, I could filter by waste, and then I can see and click into that commercial waste diversion. We usually say if there's a target listed there. There's not a specific target for commercial waste diversion, but we do have one for overall city waste. And you can see more details in the data tab, as well as I can see which ones impact. So if I actually want to see the citywide waste diversion, you actually have those kind of goal numbers listed on the chart. I can head home and then I can click into a specific plan if I'd like. So if I wanted to see progress on the sustainability plan, I can select that. Take a second. You can learn more about the vision. There's a glossary. If I want to look at our actions, there's a nice dashboard feature here. So you can actually see, okay, most of our sustainability plan actions are in the implementation phase. Most of them are also on time. You can kind of see some that are late or maybe not started. And then you can kind of see this high level review. There's also this nice when information was updated. So you can see commonly this 2 months. So that's when staff came in and did their mid-year update. And then you can always click in to one of these. So since I mentioned the Whole Home Health Program, I think it's mentioned in this one. So I can come here, I can kind of learn more about the strategy, I can read recent updates, I can see the staff contacts, and then also how this action might contribute to different indicators. And then I can always click up here to head home or select up here to select a different plan. So I want to show you some of our new plans. So our Parks, Recreation, and Trails plan. So I think probably the most exciting part of this plan is in the renewal and reinvestment section. Similar, you can see kind of the stage implementation financial planning that started. But again, if I click on a park, I can see at the top what's left to do, and that's going out to close to 2050. I can see what they are doing and what has been done. And every single park also often has a corresponding page on our website. So those are also cross-linked. So you can click on this and go to the city's website to learn more as well. So if you're interested in learning more about what's happening in your local neighborhood park, this should provide a lot of extensive information. And then I can go over to the water efficiency plan, very similar. I can see this one has an indicator highlighted. This was an old indicator that we're keeping for now, since the plan just passed this year. 2025 will be the baseline year, so we'll have more metrics and data in our next round. But this was a previous target of trying to reduce water usage from a 2002 baseline. So you can see that progress here, but that 3% target that I mentioned earlier will also be tracked here. Again, you can also go into the actions or check out different indicators for this plan. The last thing I just want to highlight, if you're really interested in greenhouse gas emissions, you can click on the scenario tool, and then this includes a model based on different actions that the city is planning to take and how that might impact our greenhouse gas emissions into the future. If I expand settings, I can click different actions on and off. So if I click off beneficial electrification, oops, and then hide settings again, I can, this map has now changed, and I can see kind of how that has changed. I do want to note that we are in the process of updating this model. So next year I'll probably be back to talk about that and those updates. With that, are there any questions?
Yeah, questions for Francie? Yeah, Ethan?
Yeah, I'm seeing 0 acres of irrigated agricultural land on indicator number 1677. Is that wrong? Doesn't seem correct.
Let me go double check that one. I'm guessing that is one of our new indicators for our water efficiency plan. Sorry,
It's
do you mind saying which indicator that was again?
1677.
1677.
I think it may have been an Envision indicator, Francie.
Okay. Yeah, because I found one through the water efficiency plan, but it wasn't agriculture land. Yeah, so that let me just share my screen so we can all look at the same. So this is a indicator from Envision Longmont. It does actually only have one data point from 2015. So some of our indicators, we're still identifying the best staff member to provide the update. So there's a couple that so we do try to keep them as up to date as possible. You can see a lot of 2024, but there are some occasional indicators like that one that we are a little bit behind on providing the data update for.
Do you have a general sense off the top of your head how many acres are in ag production on open space land?
I do not. I would have to reach out to staff in our GIS team or open space team. I might be able to find it quickly, because that's a number that we can, I don't know by percentage, but I could provide total acres, but not off the top of my head for
Maybe we
percentage
can
wise.
follow up separately on that and just stay on the report for this meeting. But yeah, maybe if Francine, Ethan, if you want to connect afterwards, and then maybe just send that information to the whole board.
Well,
Yes, I'd be happy to. I know the staff to ask, so I can reach out and we can follow up.
Great, thanks, Francie. Other questions
Um,
on the mid-year report, board members? All right, let me check. Let me just sneak a question into Ethan really quick. I was curious, Francie, with the indicators website, if you had any information on engagement metrics, like the number of folks who regularly use it. And I know that's on the spot, so if you don't have that, that's fine, but I was just curious.
Yes, I actually recently presented that to our communications staff. So I believe, let me see if I can find this quickly. I believe we have on a typical month, and I'll double check, and if I'm wrong, I'll send a follow-up email. I believe it's about 400 visitors per month on a typical month.
Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Ethan, yeah, did you have another question?
Yeah, another page where you do have good data is 1760, trees planted by the city. So I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about that, because I see that there's been an increase since 2022 and even earlier in the number of trees planted. So what is the city doing successfully to increase that number? And have we hit our target yet for the desired number of trees being planted, or do we still want to increase that more?
Yes, I'm going to actually just bring up the action that's related to that indicator so I can reference what staff have updated. So one thing about Longmont indicators, when you're looking from like the main landing page, you can find those individual indicators, but it doesn't connect to the specific actions. But if I was in the sustainability plan specifically and looking at that tree canopy indicator of trees planted by the city, what's nice is that I can scroll down and actually see what action might be tied to it. So I just wanted to show that about showing how I might find myself updates from staff about what's influencing that indicator. And I'm just wanting to look here to see if there's specific information that can help answer that question. I know we have not yet met our target. So we have a tree canopy target. So we do have a target of 18%, and tree canopy gets checked about every 10 years. And the last check was in 2020, and we were about 12.7%. So, and again, this can be something I can make sure we can follow up with more details from our forestry staff, who you can see listed here. But a lot of the impacts in the past have been on our invasive insect, emerald ash borer, and the hotter, drier climate, making it more difficult to have trees kind of survive in our climate, or they've had to decrease. I can't speak to why there was an increase by trees planted by the city. That's something I would have to reach out to the forester and get back to you all based on kind of what I'm seeing here. I'm trying to see if there's any more information listed here. Yeah, I can reach out and get kind of about why there was this increase. I know I mentioned the Growing Shade program. I know that adding that program is trying to really address the areas of tree canopy that the city doesn't have active control over by helping residents increase it. I believe they specifically targeted neighborhood districts that had less than 25% tree canopy. because there's only so many areas that the city can plant trees. But I'll reach out to our forestry staff and get back to you on kind of the reason for that recent increase.
Thanks, Francie. Any other questions? Awesome sauce. Well, thank you so much, Francie. Always like a good run around the indicators website.
I have another one.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Ethan.
So the indicators were, or the sustainability plan was first created in 2016. Does staff think that it needs to be updated? Because it was almost 10 years ago.
I'm going to let Lisa answer that question.
All right, it is so dark. We apologize.
So
for all kinds of-
dramatic, Lisa.
I know. I don't know why. That's very weird. My computer is dying a slow, painful death. So I should be getting a new one soon, but I'm not sure what's going on with that. I apologize. Yeah, so we have had, mostly we have been waiting for the update to Envision Longmont. Oh, there we go. Just needed a minute, apparently. We've been waiting for the update to Envision Longmont, which is the city's comprehensive plan and our overarching policy document for the city, which really guides a lot of the other things that we do. All of our plans and programs really roll up into supporting our guiding principles in Envision Longmont. And we have had budget for the last few years to update the sustainability plan alongside an update to Envision, because it at this point, especially where we are at with sustainability and our efforts, a lot of the additional things that we would want to look at or accelerate really have a lot of crossover with land use and development. And so it doesn't make sense necessarily for us to pursue those things outside of Envision Longmont. But there's been a lot of staff turnover and budgeting constraints on the planning side, and planning and development services are the folks, I apologize, for that are responsible for updating Envision. And then also that really ties back to the priorities of City Council as well. And so they've been moving forward priorities that fall within kind of the existing framework of Envision Longmont. And I would look to Councilmember Popkin if he wants to add anything additional. But that's a long-winded way to say, yes, I think there are updates that do need to happen. There are some components, some of the ones that you spoke to in particular, Ethan, that I think we would want to look at. And we've just been, oh my gosh, I am so sorry. We've just been trying to align our efforts with broader city efforts so that we can do our best leveraging resources and community engagement and those sorts of things.
Yeah, I'll mostly echo what Lisa said. Thank you. And just note that, the current Envision Longmont does have sustainability and resilience as two core values that are embedded within Envision Longmont. Now, how those are embedded in what specifically those meant at the time and how those are interpreted or in the implementation of Envision Longmont obviously matter. And so I think Lisa is absolutely correct in saying that once the direction is given to like restart or to re-envision Longmont, if you will, then that would be an optimal time to really fold in an input from this group and from many others, as I think would be fully intended once that would, once that update is initiated.
Thanks, Lisa. Matthew. Any final questions?
Real quick, just going back to trees for 1 second. There's another indicator number 3033. That's trees planted by development. And that has actually decreased since 2024 is only 2 years there, but there's a decrease from 2024 to this year. Maybe that's because the year is only 9 months over, but it'd be good to know if there's any insight about why that number has decreased in contrast with city planted by the city.
Thank you for that question. We didn't start tracking that data, as you can see, until 2024. And yes, 2025, that would only be halfway through the year and a metric in July. I typically try to ask staff to only update once a full year is done. So that one was updated just a little bit early. But when I reach out to forestry staff, I can see if we're, based on where we were a year ago, are we on track for it to be an increase this year, or will it be expected decrease? But that's most likely a drop just because we don't have a full year of data.
Great. Thanks, Fancy. Thanks, everyone. And let's go ahead and move on to public invited to be heard. And Heather, do we have public invited to be heard today?
We do. We have one with us.
Fantastic. So pivoting in, so I would now then like to open it for public invited to be heard. As a way of reminder for everyone, the Longmont Municipal Code, Section 296020, describes the powers and duties of the Sustainability Advisory Board as follows. The powers of the board shall be advisory only. The duties of the board shall be as follows: to identify topics related to environmental quality and sustainability, such as air and water quality, pollution prevention, solid waste disposal and recycling, energy efficiency, renewable energy, and green building, and to advise the City Council on plans, policies, and actions related to those topics. The City Council may request the board to consider environmental topics not specifically listed in this section and advise the council on such topics. To advise the City Council on the environmental and sustainability aspects of city plans, policies, and directives and related goals and strategies, and to define goals for the board and prepare work plans aligned with the board responsibilities to advise council on environmental and sustainability topics. So for our public invited to be heard, each person wishing to speak, one of you today, will unmute to speak one at a time. When it is your turn to speak, please state your name and address for the record, and you will have 5 minutes for comment. I will cut you off at 5 minutes.
All right, so we have Kristen with us who would like to share comments.
Hello, my name is Kristen Wolfslegel. I live at 916 Hover Ridge Circle. And I was curious about what a lady said at the last meeting about pollinators being affected by electromagnetic fields. So I looked it up. And yes, there are studies saying that this is a problem. However, when I contacted the People and Pollinators Action Network about it, Joyce Kennedy said that this is not a focus of theirs. She said that their top concerns for pollinators are habitat loss, chemical use, and climate change. And I think we're all in agreement that we can't address climate change at a fast enough pace without electrification. I also recall seeing a study in which they found pollinators were greatly diminished in areas where air pollution was present from fossil fuels. So if we're choosing a lesser evil here for pollinators, I'd say that it's electrification. By the way, I did also attend the Pollinator Palooza at Jack's Solar Garden recently, and the farmer did not seem to have any trouble with pollination in spite of his high-power solar farm. I don't mean to say that it's not a real problem, but the pollinators are still functioning enough to do the job there. All that said, rather than saying use this power or that, we should all be looking at using less power. Reducing energy use of all kinds will help our pollinators. And I appreciate it that the city is working toward this with things like green building codes and by exploring alternative transportation. I did want to say, though, that I would like to encourage the Sustainability Advisory Board to look into advising the council to reword the landscape code to prohibit large swaths of turf in new developments. This is habitat loss, which also leads to chemical use. I see way too many developments still going in that are carpeted in sod. This isn't good for the pollinators, our water supply, or the environment on the larger scale. Our new developments should look like wild and hairy Colorado, not lordly estates in England. And then I had a quick note. Last time everyone was talking about green building code. My husband is a passive house designer, and someone had the question about, I can't remember if it was insulation or the vapor barrier would prevent passive solar gain for houses. And my husband, as a passive house designer, said that you actually want as little energy exchange with the outdoors as possible. There is some solar gain through windows in the winter, but otherwise there's no energy exchange, and passive homes are designed to use 75 to 90% less energy, which all ties in with what I said before. And a quick note about the trees. Good job increasing our tree canopy. I saw a study that in Melbourne, Australia, they're increasing tree coverage to 40% actually, because they decided well, they did a study that it would reduce temperatures in Melbourne by 7 degrees citywide if they could reach 40% tree coverage. So good job on that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kristen. All right, moving right along. We don't have other business, so we're going to go into items from staff, and we'll start with an update on the building code direction from Lisa.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Francie touched on this earlier, and I don't actually have too much more information because we went through it pretty extensively at our last meeting. I just wanted to let you all know that when we went to City Council on August 26th, we actually were not able to present, but we did send them a pretty extensive council communication, which summarized the report that was shared with you all, as well as the recommendations and all of the background essentially that we went through with you all at the last meeting. It was a very late night with a lot of items on the agenda, a significant one of which pertains to the city's budget for next year. As you can imagine, that's a pretty substantive topic. And so we actually had a relatively unusual move made by one of the council members who moved after reading the packet to approve staff's recommendation, which was to go with the Northwest Regional Code cohort recommendations, which is what we went through with you all last year. Again, that is slightly more stringent than the state's recommendations, but also offers some simplification and some additional things that we think makes more sense for our region. So our building services staff will be in the process of doing some stakeholder engagement with that. They're going to the Master Board of Appeals with the whole suite of code updates that are going to be happening. And then they'll be taking that back to City Council for first and second reading toward the end of the year. So I just wanted to close the loop and let you know, let you all know that that was the outcome of that meeting. I see Councilmember Popkin came off camera, so I'll pass it to him real quick, and then Ethan, I'm happy to follow up with questions. Councilmember Popkin.
Yeah, I'll just put a finer point on that because it was an unusual situation. Ultimately, council accepted staff's recommendation, right? And that's what council decided to do there. I think that the motion at that time was made to kind of gauge whether, and I didn't make it, but from someone else, to gauge whether there was going to be substantive discussion on that. It sounded like there was not, and so at that point, given how late it was, and I felt slightly bad for our staff who were waiting all around just for that moment, but at that point, it seemed like that was not going to be contentious or prompt significant discussion at that stage. So that's where council decided to just accept it and wrap up a few other items. So thank you, Lisa and Susan, and anyone else who's on the call that stuck it out that long. And just know that I can speak for at least myself and others, or I can speak for at least myself, but did read the whole thing and really appreciate all the work that's gone into that. So thank you.
Great, thanks, Councilmember Popkin. And it's not unusual for us to have to be there late, so it's part of the job. Yeah, Ethan, go ahead.
Thank you. Was that approved with the changes recommended by the consulting group?
Yeah, they approved the amendments as well. The amendments to the amendments, yes.
Was that final approval, or there'll still be community meetings and then final approval later? I'm a little bit unclear on that.
That was direction for staff to pursue those. So our building services staff will, the code cohort supplied model code language for all of the things that were in the code cohort package. The additional amendments that our consultant made, we are working with Group 14, who's the consultant who did our analysis, to develop that code language for those additional amendments. So that was increasing the lighting power density requirements, the demand response change, and then actually modeling different pathways, getting super into code stuff for the section C411. So essentially we have some really clear pathways that different building types can go through to make it, again, easier for them to follow that process. So we're going to be working with our consultant to develop that additional code language. And then our building services folks will be doing the stakeholder engagement on that process to get any additional feedback. And then the final approval will be in that first and second reading process. With any ordinance, we have to go through 2 readings with City Council, a minimum of 2 weeks apart, before it's in its final approval.
Yeah, just to clarify on that, in a very simple terms, council gave direction for staff to start to incorporate this into the code. That will come to council for final approval once that's all done. So it has not been accepted. It's not in the code yet. It's not been approved for it being in the code yet.
Any other questions? Great, Lisa, if you want to, regenerative agriculture, one of our favorite topics.
Yeah, I just wanted to give you all an update. So, you know, I haven't forgotten this topic. We are hoping to do a presentation with staff on that today, actually. And I just wanted to share with you all kind of where our natural resource open space folks are that manage our ag program. If you'll recall, and I know this was before some of our new members joined, we hired for the first time this year an ag specialist. That's a part-time, it's not a part-time position, it's a full-time position, but it's like half ag specialist, half, I think, project management or something like that. So I just put that for context for you all to understand the amount of staff capacity that we have to do this work is quite minimal. They were just hired a few months ago. And when I reached out to our open space folks, they felt like they weren't quite yet in a place to come and give you any substantive information on our approach to regenerative agriculture, because they really need that person to get established. They have some internal processes that they want that person to really spend some time developing, because again, this is the first time we've had somebody in that type of position before. And then they also, the work of that group is largely, I don't want to say overseen by, but the board that they most are connected to is the Parks and Rec Advisory Board. And so they also, once they are in a place to have this information down, they want to go to that board first and talk through it. And then they'll do kind of like a roadshow style presentation at some point next year. And they said that they would keep me updated on that. They did offer to provide some quarterly just informational updates in the meantime to make sure that we're being accountable to you all as well with a topic that I know you all are very interested in and passionate about. So again, you all know that we're not kicking the can or forgetting about this topic. They're just not there yet. So I just wanted to provide you all kind of an update with that, and I'll keep you updated as I get that information from those folks over there. So that's the update on that piece. Did everyone have any questions or comments before I move on? Francie, did you want to add anything? I saw you come off.
Not to that piece, but I do have an answer related to agriculture to one of Ethan's earlier questions, but I can let board members ask you questions on your update, and then I can give that update.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, Ethan.
Would it be possible to get a community expert like the Dryland Agroecology Group or somebody else who really knows a lot about the topic, so that we could at least, wrap our heads around what regenerative agriculture can mean in this region and maybe make some progress that way?
Yeah, and Alec had graciously offered up his expertise as well. And so I think we just couldn't get it together for this evening. But Alec, I saw your email earlier. I'm happy to follow up with you. If it looks like that's going to be like quite a bit further down the road, then yeah, I think that's absolutely something that we can do, so that you all can be thinking about from the producer's standpoint, you know, what's their experience and what sort of recommendations might they have. So yeah, Alec, did you want to add anything?
I guess I was curious, so the city of Longmont hired an ag specialist to analyze the city of Longmont open space agricultural land, and that's generally all leased out by others.
Yeah, you might be asking me questions that I can't answer at this point. I don't know the
Okay,
full
gotcha.
scope of that position.
Because the city of Longmont is not currently operating agricultural operations anymore.
No, that's correct.
Right.
All of the land that we own that is under ag production is leased out to producers. Yeah. Mhm.
Right. So, okay. Yeah, I'm just because yeah.
Yep.
So whatever his analysis is therefore going to be based on the current agricultural happenings on city of Longmont agricultural land.
That's what I do not know the full scope of their work and what they'll be doing. So
Okay,
yeah,
gotcha.
yeah. I can try to
Yeah,
get
there's
more.
there's
Yeah.
a wavy line there that doesn't make too much sense because again, analyzing Longmont agricultural land in mass would not lead you to regenerative practices. So what he could be analyzing is beyond, I don't know.
Yeah,
But
part
I'm
of that scope, I
curious.
imagine, is managing those leases themselves.
Right, like we're actually
yeah,
working with
yeah,
the
mhm,
clients and this, that, and the other. Okay,
yeah,
or the
yeah,
landowner, leasees.
yeah,
Or
yeah. But I can at least try to get that information and circle back with you all just to
yeah.
get a scope of that.
And beyond that, yeah, would love to, yeah, with the right amount of timing, put together, yeah,
Yep.
something beautiful for us all to talk about ag.
Great, thanks,
Yeah,
Alex.
I was thinking, Lisa, that would be helpful is maybe understanding they need to get their position under them before they can come talk to us. I'm mostly curious, even of just like, we hired someone, what was the goal for that? What was the reasoning behind that? Just to set some foundation. Yeah, to what Alec is saying on the producer side, there's considerations there. Yes, there's this new person doing something, but what was the city's expectations when they hired this person? So that would be really helpful for me at least.
Yep. Great. Okay, Francie, do you want to jump in with your info?
Yes, I don't have a percentage, but I do have about, and this is including both city and non-city owned land. There's about 3,600 acres of agricultural land within the city. Actually, speaking to kind of what Lisa was talking about with the new position, I did get when we were gathering this data this year for greenhouse gas inventory, the caveat of they're working through some data accuracy issues, and we should have some more accurate numbers and information that could be presented next year. So I will follow up with that indicator to see for next year as they're working on that, if that one can be updated at that time. So thank you for pointing that one out, Ethan.
Thanks, Francie. All right, so the next item that I had on items from staff is I just wanted to share with you all that the city has been going through an update to our design standards and construction specifications. That is a very technical document that governs, oh goodness, it's like we have a couple of different areas that govern how people build and develop in the city. There's a lot of that like land development code that lives in the city code. And then there's also our design and construction standards which govern all of the specifications around like what size and what type of material pipes that we use and all of those sorts of things. There are a number of different components to that. And I just wanted to let you all know that there's a couple, I think there's 7 or 8 sections total. They're going to city council. The updates are going to city council for approval in a phased approach over the next several months. But there are some community meetings coming up for folks to provide any feedback on those. Like I said, they can be very technical. There is some stuff in there around some of the landscaping requirements, transportation, parks, things like that. So there are definitely some things that I thought you all might be interested in, but didn't want to bring the full thing to you because like it gets, it gets down to incredibly technical details that are far beyond my expertise. So I will send an email to you all with the information just so that you all have that in case you want to participate in any of those meetings. I think there's also a way that you can follow up through email or anything like that if you have feedback on those. So just wanted to let you all know that was happening. And then I apologize, I also missed that we have today a colleague from Community and Neighborhood Resources, Guillermo Estrada Rivera. He's going to be talking to you all about the Sustainable Neighborhood Solutions Program and recruitment for someone from this board to sit on the evaluation committee for our neighborhood impact grant. So Guillermo, pass it to you.
Thank you, Lisa, and good evening, everyone. So I'm the neighborhood programs supervisor for CNR, and today I wanted to come in and share a little bit about what we do with our neighborhood community grants. So one of our grants historically has been known as a Sustainable Neighborhood Solutions grant. We're merging those grants and making it a little bit more accessible. This year specifically, I'm happy to announce that we've had an impact of close to a little over $300,000 impact in combination of grants that had there were neighborhood enhancement projects, and some of them had very unique opportunities to do sustainable impacts. We do a combination of both because some neighborhoods don't have the capacity to engage in more involved projects. So the neighborhood enhancement projects are more about changing signs and creating a sense of identity. But I'm here to talk about the SNS grants. So the SNS grants are following the sustainability improvement, the sustainability guidelines, and are 10 sustainability topics plus four added topics. So any projects that contribute to air quality, building infrastructure, energy, natural environment, and the other ones from sustainability plus education, public health, public safety, and self-sufficiency in neighborhoods. We encourage folks to engage with us to provide just feedback and how do we improve those grants. The way we can do that, it's a combination of feedback from our NGLA representatives and then from committee members like you. We typically in the SNS committee, we have 5 seats, and one of them it's a representative from the Sustainability Advisory Board. Last representative we had was Mary Lynn. So we're looking for a new representative. It's we usually have about a couple of cycles throughout the year. We send you the grant information, and because we're merging the grants in just the neighborhood improvement funds, what we're gonna have is a committee of 10 folks that 5 of them are gonna provide voting for the regular improvement grants. And then, but still the 5 sustainability representatives are going to provide feedback on those. And then the sustainability improvement grants that will be more focused on the sustainability programming, you will get to vote. So we're looking for 1 more representative from the Sustainability Advisory Board. And also, if you know anybody from the youth community, that is a vacant seat that we've had for a couple of years, and we don't want to close it. So if you know any youth member in the community, also we're looking for that one as well. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer any of these questions. And just a quick shameless infomercial. We're gonna have a session on info session on the grants as well. So we're gonna be talking a little bit more in depth on the grants today at 6:30. Thank you. Any questions?
What ages are the youth that you're looking for?
Unclear. I should know that. I apologize. But anybody 13 and up. So we're looking for middle school, high school age. Yeah, teenagers.
Not college.
We could be flexible. But usually, yeah, historically we reached out to San Bernardino, Valley School District, so teenagers. just providing that a different opportunity. We have a good mixture of HOAs, independent neighborhoods. We have a representative from the business community. So we also wanna hear other diverse voices. Yeah.
Is there like a public announcement that we can help distribute for the youth
Uh,
position?
Historically hasn't happened, so I'll look into it and send it your way.
Board members, any questions, or is anyone interested in serving on the panel?
Yeah, in addition to you sending out the grants for, I guess, remote review, are you gathering on a regular basis? Can you tell us more about the time commitment?
Yeah. So typically the review depends on the amount of grants that we get. This year we got I believe we got 14. But not all of them were sustainability. So I would say that it takes between an hour or two to review each application, and then afterwards, I try to make it a little bit more streamlined. So you have a form to provide your feedback and your voting, and then we have a meeting of about half an hour to provide any other commentaries or anything, and we gather that feedback and put it in the award letter. So historically, we were like approval denial. This time, we're making it a little bit more accessible. So if the committee decides that the grant is not quite ready, instead of letting them know like they need to reapply, we just tell them, hey, this was the feedback. You can continue your application process. It's just going to take you longer, and it's going to be outside the period of application, but they will be pretty much still in process of applying.
Very helpful. Well, consider me an interested party.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
of course.
Heather, question for you. Do we need to vote for this person to join the committee? Okay, just checking.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, I mean, in that case, then I would move to appoint Alyssa to the committee. Is there a second for that?
I second.
All in favor?
Uh,
Yeah, making stuff happen. Thank you so much, Alyssa.
Yeah,
That sounds
thanks.
super fun.
Thank you, everybody, and I'll reach out to Elisa and we'll continue the conversation. And thanks for having me.
Yes, thank you so much, Guillermo.
Thank you.
Thanks, Guillermo, and thanks, Alyssa. It's fun and it's cool to see what comes through. That is it for me on items from staff.
Thanks so much, Lisa. We will move on now to items from the board. Just as a reminder for board members, if there's any items that were brought up during public invited to be heard that you'd wish to follow up on, now would be the time to raise them. And I was also going to give you a quick update. So I went to the business meeting for the Front Range Sustainability Council. So we voted for me to be the liaison for the Front Range Sustainability Council. I was really excited to see Ethan was also there at that business meeting. For those of you who didn't know Ralph was a member of the panel before and was the board before. Sorry, I served on a panel and now I've got them mixed up. Ralph was a member of this board before and he was our liaison, and he's still actually serving on the council to hand things off essentially, because there is some real interest with the council getting a little bit more of a governing structure in place, more regular meetings, and really starting to sink our teeth into some more advocacy at a regional level. Especially, I was really excited to hear we're looking up the chain of power and wanting to advocate and speak more to state government and a little less of, in these meetings as boards, as panels around the region, we're advising city staff. But we had a nice conversation about how the power of this regional council is really to look up and start advocating at the state level for some regional change. So that's really exciting. A lot of talk so far, really looking forward. I did let them know I'd be willing to serve on a governing committee if that comes together. So we would have a voice there in that process as well. But then just looking forward for our next meeting. It's not scheduled yet, but we will know soon and keep that work going. So that's the update from FRSC. We got an acronym now, so you know we're official. Yeah, Lisa.
Yeah, I'm happy to follow up with you, Daniel, but while I'm thinking about it, so I don't forget later.
Yeah.
If that's the shift in focus, there's some good advocacy organizations that have public policy statements that would probably be really good for you all to review. So Colorado Communities for Climate Action is one,
Yeah.
Recycle Colorado, Colorado Health Foundation. There's a handful of folks that might be good for you all to see what some of those advocacy groups are doing that you could also align with. So
That's a really good idea. Yeah, I'll follow up with you.
okay,
Thank you. Cool. Board members, any other items you wanted to raise? Well, cuckoo. Nothing from the board. I'll turn it over to Councilmember Popkin for
Councilmember Popkin had to leave for another meeting, so he's not with us anymore.
All right, no items from council then. In that case, with no further business, is there a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Thank you, Corkin. Second?
I second it.
All in favor? Fantastic. Have a good evening, everyone, and we'll see you soon.
Just a
Thank you.
reminder that next month's meeting is in person at City Council Chambers, 350 Kimbark Street.
and we'll
Sounds
have
good.
volunteer shirts for you all. So come so you can get your shirt.
And then volunteer, right? That's the follow-up.
Yes, that is the inference. Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Have a good
Thank
night.
you. Have a good
Have a good
night.
evening.
Bye.